Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Fishing for Men. If you're tuning in, you're catching the third episode in our series on marriage, titled "Till Death Do Us Part." And if this is your first one in the series, boy, are you in for a real doozy, because today we're going to be talking about intimacy. And I've got we've recruited some intimacy experts today. So around the table, all of our intimacy experts shall be, to my left.
Nobody say anything because that's not.
Here's your non-expert, Brandon.
Intimacy expert, Cody.
Not an expert, Billy.
So it sounds like Cody's the only one.
Good thing, Cody. You're going to share all of your wisdom with us today.
Disclaimer, if you remember back to episode 1 where we said there's nobody with a PhD in this call, although if you were working on some degrees in counseling. But really excited about this episode. First episode, we really dove into the biblical foundation of marriage being a covenant, not a contract. Last episode, we talked about everybody's favorite thing in marriage, communication. And now we'll talk about maybe this is your favorite thing, marriage, but we're also going to kind of take this as a reframing. So right out of the gate, gentlemen, without Googling it, what would be your working definition of intimacy in a marriage? If you had to define it.
Ooh, you're going to go with in a marriage? Mm-hmm. I'm going to let you guys go first only because I looked up a definition in the back of this book before I actually came over here.
What is, if somebody would just say, hey, what do you mean by when you say intimacy? Somebody's English as a second language. How would you describe it?
Knowing each other well. I don't know.
All right.
I think closeness.
Closeness. All right. What does Webster say?
I don't know what Webster says, but basically it's closeness through physical or emotional.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of both.
Says or.
I'm saying both.
Really? What about for man to man?
We said in the context of marriage.
Okay.
So
Okay. Fair. For marriage, yes, both. Okay.
But I do think that's a great point. Yeah, this idea that there's more than just the physical component, that when you hear intimacy and when you see it portrayed in society today in its typical context, it's in reference to the physical side of it. And that can be easily, like exposure therapy. It's just something that continues to be.
Cody's banging his phone on the table over here. I don't know if he likes what we're talking about.
It's one of those things that can just continuously be drilled into your mind that it's a physical aspect. But in the biblical sense, it's really more than that. It includes, obviously, yes, the emotional, but also this spiritual component. And together, all of these should combine, if you look at kind of how the Bible has described it, into this sense of selfless love. So I wanted to just jump into some conversation around these three components of the emotional, the spiritual, and then the physical, and maybe debunk some myths about the physical that are out there using some scripture. And all the way, listener, I want you to just learn from these experts, self-proclaimed experts.
Will you stop saying that?
Spencer given experts, and I don't know how widely regarded that statement is.
Well, I'm only 3 years in marriage, so given the sliding scale in this room, you all are the experts. With all
Good, the two guys over there can teach us.
So when we talk about emotional intimacy, there are some guys that absolutely do not like this. I used to be one of them, especially certain types of emotions. It's just not the easy thing because emotions can make people uncomfortable. They're unpredictable. They're hard, and they just require sometimes a certain level of vulnerability. So what's your first reaction when your wife shares her emotions? Is it fight or flight? Is it explore? What comes up for you guys?
So for me, I enjoy that part.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh crap, like what are we going to do here?
Yeah.
Mainly because it's just always been something for me personally. It's a part of my connection that I've always had, and it's actually become both a blessing, but it was also a hindrance for a long time because I could get emotionally connected to girls. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't realize that for a very long time. And it caused a lot of trouble in relationships and dating and that type of thing. And so I have to be very careful about that. But I do enjoy that part because for me, it helps me understand more of, for my wife's perspective, helps me understand more of who she is and what's going on. And to me, when she shares her feelings, it tells me that she trusts me enough to share that.
Yeah. I love that element of trust being there.
Yeah, overall, I'm okay with emotions.
Yeah.
In general, be it with my wife or someone else. I'm a fairly like emotionally attuned person, so I can sit with someone in an uncomfortable conversation and be okay with that. But in my marriage, I was talking through this with my wife. One thing I've noticed about myself is if we like at the end of the day sit down and have like an intentional conversation, I'm okay with whatever she brings up. But if I just got home from work and she's in the kitchen cooking and she starts unloading on me, I'm okay if it's not a trigger for me. If it's something that like if it's something about the kids that I'm frustrated or worried or anxious about and she drops that on me randomly, that will trigger me.
Yeah.
And then I don't respond well.
Yeah.
But we could have that same conversation later on and I'd be fine. So it's kind of situational in that sense.
That's really good point. That's true for me too.
Is it the element of surprise that gets you?
I think
Because that's usually what it is. Like if it's a surprise thing,
it's not a surprise thing. So I like to be able to have time to process things.
Yeah.
And so when it's something that doesn't affect me emotionally, I'm okay if I don't necessarily have that. But when it's something that will like stir a strong emotion in me, and I'm not able to sit and like kind of process through what I'm going through and listen at the same time, then that's when I just react because I just want to get away from it.
Yeah. Makes sense. I'm definitely on the situational side too. I think we talked a little bit about this last week when we said what our triggers were, but mine is if it's like emotions of frustration and it's directed at me, that's a trigger for me. And it's usually not, I can handle like, hey, criticism or like constructive criticism. And it's more not what you're saying, but how you say it.
Yeah.
When those emotions come out in a tone that like, it makes me want to armor up and like get ready to defend myself against you.
Like if it doesn't come out of a place of love.
Yeah, if it comes out of a place of like I'm perceiving as judgment or condescension, then that will bring out the Irish in me. I feel like, and then I'm sarcastic.
I can imagine the little fighting Irish.
Sarcasm to level 100.
do you have a little Irish guy on your shoulder?
It's what
A
it feels
leprechaun
like.
or
Yeah,
something.
it's like, say the meanest thing you can. Yeah, exactly what's on my shoulder.
Just do it. Just do it.
But I'm psychology. My master's is in psychology, so I don't shy away from it typically. Like
Yeah.
I find depth in those conversations, and that's where I feel a lot of connection. But I see a lot of guys that family members, friends that, and I may not be privy to it because it's their marriage, but when I see it in public, they just like play it off like, we're not talking about that right now.
Yeah. I think this room of guys may be a little bit of an exception in that sense.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this and just the fact that, just like anything, this comfort with emotions is probably a sliding scale for a lot of guys. And like in the other episodes in this series, I found just a couple quotes that I thought were really, really important for this idea of emotional intimacy. And one is from Dan Allender from his book, The Healing Path. And he says, intimacy begins when we step into each other's stories with compassion.
I like that.
So just this idea that you have to step in. So I think it also implies a sense of vulnerability, a little bit of courage to step in and put on compassion, which means to prioritize somebody else's, your willingness to understand somebody else's emotions before judging it. And then there was another really good one from everybody's a fan favorite of this podcast, Dallas Willard, who says, love is not a feeling. It is the will to act for the good of another. And I think a lot of times that comes into our emotions, which means act for the good of another means to sometimes like compassion, put their emotions before my own.
That circling back to the Dan Allender quote, like that definition sounds very similar to empathy. Like if you were to read it as empathy begins when we step into each other's stories with compassion. And so it makes me just think that our goal should be just to accept what our spouse brings as it is, and just have that curiosity to be like, I wonder what's going on in their day. I wonder what's causing them to bring this up or to act irritated.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a great segue into this idea of like, there's habits, there's things that we can be doing. So when we think about this idea of emotional intimacy, you see it all throughout Scripture. When you think about the way Jesus built emotional connections was often through compassion, through that empathy, the way he could see people first. And he could see them first before there was any sort of like physical touch. And I know we're talking in the context of marriage here, and that's not necessarily, but it's always present there that, intimacy starts often in this spiritual, emotional realm. So there's things we as men can do to either kind of think of it as a bank account. When you think about emotional intimacy, we can steal the safety out of it, take a deposit out, or put a deposit in, or we can take a withdrawal out. So in your all's experience and in your marriages, what are habits that can steal the safety from your emotional intimacy, where your wife doesn't want to be open with you and share those things that you might value?
Trying to fix it.
Advice, yeah.
Yeah, I heard, I think it was in one of the series that I was listening to, and it might have been, as we were talking about before, this actually might be from Joby Martin. He said, here's the best piece of advice. When she comes to you and talks about feelings, don't respond with facts. Respond with feelings.
Yeah.
And when she comes with facts, don't respond with feelings. Respond with facts. So if she comes with facts, respond with facts. If she comes with feelings, respond with feelings. It's pretty simple.
That's pretty simple.
But oftentimes it just resonated with me. I like to respond with facts. Like, well, just don't do that.
Yeah.
This doesn't go well.
Be careful, you might get punched, Billy.
She will punch me.
Yeah, so trying to fix things, not listening, being condescending,
Yeah.
Saying something to negate how she's feeling.
I think sometimes it's just like taking a minute. Like oftentimes what I've noticed is the distractions. What can steal the safety isn't anything that I'm actively doing. It's what I'm passively not doing. So like when I'm missing cues or like a deep breath that, that could be a sign we want to chat.
Yeah.
Did you not see that?
Yeah, exactly. Or like it's fall, football's on, and I'm trying to watch this, but you are trying to have a conversation, and then you get the question of like, what did I just say? Like, well, you said this, and you repeat it back, but you didn't hear it. You heard it, you didn't comprehend it. I think those are things too, of just like the distractions, and then it's just like it's not even worth it.
Not being fully present.
Yeah. What about some of the things that can make your wife feel seen and valued?
I think the opposite of everything we just said.
Yeah.
Well, so I think I knew the answer in full transparency. I asked my wife this question before we came and talked about this. I'm like, I want to hear, like, from your perspective, what are the things that I do that make you feel seen and valued? And so this is probably getting into some of the questions that we have later, but a big thing for her is acts of service.
Yeah.
And so even if, and so maybe this is a tip for husbands out there, don't do things for your wife expecting a thank you in return.
Yeah.
There are often times, like, I know the things that trigger her, and it could be like if she's got to take the kids to dance or whatever that is, and she's coming home, I know there are things around the house that will stress her out when she walks in the door. So whether that's taking the laundry out, or if I know it's sitting on the bed, it's going to fold it even if she didn't ask me to do that.
Yeah.
It's picking up my crap from the closet. It's making her breakfast in the morning, or making her tea in the morning, or whatever. Like, those things are the things that she knows when I do them make her feel seen and valued.
Yeah.
And so understanding, I guess one is, do you understand the triggers of your wife? And then are you proactively doing that not to benefit yourself, but to benefit her?
Yeah. I love that theme of when's the last time you did something for your wife expecting nothing in return without keeping score? That early on is, I'd say
that last part's really hard.
Yeah.
Without keeping score.
Ooh, man, it gets me.
Take that scoreboard and chop it up and throw it in the chipper or whatever and get it out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scoreboard has caused me a lot of misery over the years. I've fortunately, in this season at least, have gotten away with it, but I'm not arrogant enough to say it can't
Yeah.
pop. A new one shows up on the wall. I'm like, where'd you come from?
I didn't order this from Amazon.
Satan's like, don't worry, I got it for
Yeah,
you.
don't worry, you threw that one away. I've got 20 more. Here.
I don't know the answer to this, but I've talked to some people that have done marriage counseling through their church, and they said one of the things they've done is they take all of the tasks that they do around the house and they weight them. And so they come to an agreement on the weights of these different tasks, and then they divide them up so that the weights are equal. And so there can be no argument. So it's like, trash might be 20 points and unloading the dishwasher might be 20. And
That seems really dangerous.
Right? Yeah, that's one. It sounds like a lot of work.
but I feel like nope, we all agreed that's the weight.
But don't those things change?
And well, now I tell you what,
They
now that
do.
we've had a baby, trash has sure changed with diaper duty. I'll tell you that. Yeah, absolutely.
It's got a little heavier.
Yeah.
But you got there are the things that are repeatable that you do every day. Like there's a rhythm that you are going with, especially if you have kids. But there are always things, either during the day or at least during the week, that are not common tasks. So is there like a miscellaneous comment or like
Yeah, how do you fit
miscellaneous
those
category
into the
that's like
scoreboard?
there's just flat 25.
Yeah.
Like, but that took me 4 hours.
Right? I know. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, that sounds. I'm in the same camp as Billy. That sounds dangerous.
I when they talked about it, I was like, I mean,
Hey, if it works,
seems
works.
more
yeah.
power to them.
If that's where the struggle is, the scorekeeping. There you go, listener. There might be a tactic. Google it. Look at you, experts.
I don't know. I'm not including that.
I'm
in
not
my
even going to
counseling.
try that, to be honest.
What about any other habits that Billy? I'm with you. The one thing that my Katie has told me is just like the small acts of service of, putting her pod in a cup in the Keurig in the morning. It's just like shows her that I was thinking about her before I ran out the door.
Yep.
So folding laundry, anything, all those things that you just do to make, save her 5 minutes seems to be a big one. What else comes up for you guys? Anything?
Mine ties into acts of service too, but I'm going to save that for a little bit later. So
Okay.
Ooh, suspense.
Well,
don't get too excited.
so I think, summing up, like the emotional intimacy side is one of those things that you can't run from it because it's the foundation of a lot of the other forms of intimacy. And it can be one of the most uncomfortable for some people because it requires vulnerability. It requires that art of listening that we talked about in last episode, and a level of empathy that just isn't always natural. So it may be one of those things to just start with curiosity. That's one of the things that I often do too, is instead of trying to fix it, it's like, hey, what does support for me look like right now? What's your perfect idea of support for me in this situation? And just ask.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to assume.
So I think I'm pondering this question, and part of this is going to come from for all the people out there. I'm one of the people that's in my master's for counseling. I'm in a lifespan class, which is basically all the different development stages. One of the things they talk about is that in order to understand empathy and intimacy, is that you actually have to understand yourself first. And so I was curious on y'all's thoughts is, can you have a level of intimacy with somebody else if there is something blocking you from actually understanding your own self first?
I think it would make it a lot more difficult. Kind of going back to the example I was saying earlier where it's situational for me with my wife as far as what was the question? What is my first reaction when my wife shows emotion? When she says something and I, without even thinking, react to it, and I don't understand that reaction, then I'm probably just going to run with it. Not without, just unconsciously. I'm just going to go with that.
Yeah.
But, I've done a lot of self-work. So now I recognize, like, she said that makes me mad. But what's really going on is I have anxiety and fear over the same thing that I don't know how to deal with it. And so being able to just recognize it doesn't fix the problem, but it helps me to pause and take a step back instead of escalating. And I think that ties into what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you can. I feel like you can have a level of intimacy, but it may not be the authentic or depth that you could have if you had the awareness of it.
Yeah.
Because I think if you think of it like the spokes of a wheel, it might be this misaligned version of emotional, but that doesn't necessarily block you, I feel like, from spiritual, and certainly not from, this physical type of intimacy that you could have. So to a degree, probably, but maybe not a healthy and the depth that you would want.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, it's not an all or nothing
Yeah.
type of proposition.
yeah. So as we go from spiritual or emotional, we jump into this idea of spiritual. This is one that is just, it has been an interesting journey in my own marriage. And I'm curious, how, if at all, has the spiritual intimacy changed with your wives over the course of your marriages?
Night and day.
Yeah.
We're in the night now. I'm in the daytime now, which is actually really cool. We've actually gotten to have a lot of these conversations, and for me, actually, no, but we did one thing Katie did with had us do whenever we're putting up one of our Christmas trees this year is she did a gratitude garland. So you take a bunch of pieces of paper and then make rings, and you write a bunch of gratitudes all over them. Well, she put on there, actually, one of the things she put on there is having theological conversations with me.
Oh, cool.
That was just really cool because
You're going to have to frame that one.
tell me about it.
That's awesome.
And so I would say 3-4 years ago, not the case.
Yeah.
I was all about it, but she was like, shut up.
Yeah.
And so we have recently switched churches, and so it's actually challenged us in many, many different ways. And so we're getting to have these conversations of like, hey, I'm exploring this. What do you think about this? Oh, let me go listen to some of the same things, or read some stuff, or whatever that looks like, and then I'll come back to you. And so like the other night, I was working on something for school, and she was like, okay, I'm going to go listen to that podcast, and then we can talk about it afterwards. And so then we get to go in there. I'm like, okay, cool. What did you learn? What did you hear that was different from what I might have heard, or where do you stand, or what does that look like? And so it's been really cool just to have those types of conversations, because 4 or 5 years ago, they didn't exist. And
Yeah.
for the first half of our marriage, good gosh, that wasn't even anywhere near.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been cool.
We've gone through some different seasons, I think, throughout our marriage, and I don't know what's like, I don't know if dictated is the right word, but like why it's changed. I don't want to say we're in a night period right now, but hopefully it's dawn.
I gotcha.
Nice.
I hear you.
No, so I felt like we were in a good spot, and then a couple years back, my mother-in-law got sick and unfortunately passed away, but my wife had to go back to Japan to be with her and ended up being over there for 4 months. And I don't know, maybe just the emotional toll of all of that. It's like I felt like we haven't on this front recovered since then, and it's been kind of a slow journey trying to get her back on board, because simultaneously I was like in a period of like high growth spiritually, you know what I mean? So, and in that sense, it kind of made the gap seem bigger to me. But actually these questions, you sending them out, sparked a good conversation, because it was not, it wasn't me like being on her about like, oh, this, I was like, oh, look at these are the questions Spencer sent. And we just, talked through them.
That's just Spencer. That's Spencer.
Can you send Brandon questions like once a week? Yeah. And then he's like, hey, Spencer sent us some questions.
Then that's not going to work for too long. Then she's going to be like, stop it.
Okay, we'll rotate. I'll send some, and then Cody can send some.
Yeah.
Then I'll be banned from seeing you hanging out with
Like,
you.
you need new friends, Brandon.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I think ours has been, this is where I find myself questioning, my spiritual leader of the family role most often, is this level of intimacy, because it's just not, it's not where, I would hope it could be. And a lot of that's because I can't get out of my own way. Sometimes I'll struggle from like this sense of perfectionism, and it leads to this, sense of judgment instead of compassion that we just talked about. And it's like this sense of false piety that will fill my heart. And then I have to I get all huffy and puffy, like, why can't we just do this together? You're what told me back. It's like, no, that's not true at all. It's like, if you would change your approach, you could probably be a lot further down this road than you really want to be. So it is definitely not, I am not the expert in this one for sure. So
Does your wife desire to have those conversations with you?
I don't know. And I think, so we've had that conversation. So I've just kind of asked her at times, like, hey, what holds you back from these conversations? And what she said is some things to the effect of, like, you just seem to know so much more than me, and I don't want to feel stupid. Or I don't know, like, it's more around a sense of competence. For her equals confidence. And so I've tried to just, like, wait for her to, like, show, like, she's a couple weeks ago. So maybe we're in the dawn period too, Brandon, because she just she bought this 52-week Bible.
Ooh.
Bible
cool.
cover to cover, 52 weeks. And it was like, it just showed up from Amazon. And I was like, you doing that next year? She's like, yeah, I really want to do it. I was like, could we do it together?
Go really slow with each of these words and see how she responds.
It's like, so, it's just one of those things that's like trying to feed a velociraptor a steak. It's like, just kidding, I love you. But it was like,
I think that's the second reference you've made to your wife being a dinosaur.
probably. So she was like, well, this one's just really for women. I was like, okay. I didn't touch it. I was like, not going to say a word.
Spencer's over on his computer.
Just let it be.
52-week Bible for men.
Just let it be.
Companion for his husband. Yeah. But so that's been an interesting one for us. Definitely not, I think the emotional one has been an area that we've seen the most growth, especially in the last 3 years. I'm hoping spiritual follows right behind it. But probably not one of the strongest things, I would say, for us, but growing. So
It's been kind of ebb and flow for us. I mean, looking back, there were times when I was, seemingly very strong and she was weaker, I would say. And then when I was down and really needed God, like, she was much more strong spiritually and brought me back. And so now looking back, I just can see God through all of it. He was there.
Yeah.
And, all my expectations through certain seasons were, similar to what you've talked about, where I wanted this or wanted that or had this dream for my family and it wasn't working out. So then I gave up and all of that kind of anxiety. But I don't know. I think we're stronger now than we've ever been. And it's more based on what God's done through the years with us. So
it's definitely interesting to hear years. This isn't something you're going to do overnight. Like, that's a common theme I hear from each of you, is that this is a slow burn, like a muscle, it sounds like. You've really got to grow it. So
I think it's for anything intimate wise.
that's probably true.
It's not like a flash in the pan.
It's emotional.
Boom, we're intimate.
Strong. Yeah.
Like,
Well, and I'd encourage you in that sense, Spencer, that it is your responsibility as a spiritual leader of the household to model it and to lead it. But ultimately, that I think only the Holy Spirit can bring
That's
it
true.
out.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I think even if you're not doing the same things, because like even right now, Katie and I aren't doing the same Bible study or anything like that. But one of the most valuable questions that I've just come to ask is, hey, what are you learning right now? Because then it's not a level of competence. It's not a level of, I know more than you. I just want to know what you're learning about and what God's teaching you.
Yeah.
And from that standpoint, then she doesn't have that like, oh, I have to say the right thing so Spencer thinks I'm whatever. Or, it's just, hey, you're doing this 52-week thing. That's awesome. I'd love to check in just to see what you're learning.
Yeah.
Or even if it's spontaneous as you catch your reading it. Hey, what are you learning about right now? What's been most valuable to you? Like, those are super valuable questions that I think helps lower that barrier.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, because it doesn't. I think brings up another good point. Is it cool to do things together from time to time? Absolutely, but it doesn't have to be the same thing.
I'll tell her I don't need her working thesis of the triune God then, but down.
Write it on a piece of paper, drop it, and leave.
You want to text her that right now?
Hey,
I have a great theologian
Dear
for that
dinosaur.
if you want it.
so again, two I would say foundational authors speaking to this one.
Heavy hitters.
Yeah, Charles Spurgeon. We got Dallas Willard and Spurgeon in one episode. But Spurgeon says, a marriage without prayer is like a home without a roof. Boom. And then Richard Foster in Celebration of Discipline says, community and intimacy are formed in the shared practices of spiritual life. So we've got reference to practices and one practice here, which is prayer. So the question is, what's one small step you all would recommend to a listener that is today that's just wanting to work towards growing in that spiritual intimacy in their marriage?
Pray with your wife.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Quote.
Great analogy. I literally on the way over here, I just heard was, and again, sorry, it's from Joby Martin. I'm listening to a series from him right now. He said, he's like, guys, I'm going to dumb it down for you. Here's what you do. You walk over to your wife. You say, how can I pray for you? Listen intently because it's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
And then close your eyes and say, dear God, and repeat every word she just told you. And then look up and she's going to be crying.
Yeah.
Don't freak out. Back to our emotional intimacy. Don't freak out. It's good.
Might try that tonight.
Like, it doesn't have to be super difficult. It's basically his point that he's saying that we don't have to have fancy words. We don't have to like sit down and be super spiritual about it, but like seek to understand what she wants prayer from. And then just say that out loud in front of her.
Is this something you guys do nightly? Is it
Yep.
that we don't? Yeah. That's nightly for you and Katie? Do you
Not
all
nightly for
It's
us,
not necessarily a scheduled thing. It's just each day you try and pray.
Try
with
to
your
be
wife.
intentional about it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
And there's another guy that sits at our Bible study table, and they do, which I think is really cool. Each morning, they get up and they do 10 gratitudes about each other, and then they pray. And that's how they start their day. Start their day, which is
That's
pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah. So then if prayer's kind of a beginner level, here's a question. If you all had to create a list,
Oh, gosh.
beginner, intermediate, and expert level spiritual intimacy activities, what would you put on each of those levels? Like, what is the next step up of, if you're praying consistently together, then maybe it's time to explore blah.
Expert level is ascending to the third heaven together.
On a cloud, holding hands. Jesus has got you in his arms. So wait, what did you establish as the basic level? Now my mind's
if
turning.
you said like, hey, if there was one building block to start now,
Okay.
beginner level is try and pray with your wife
Yeah.
daily.
Well, I would say one is pray with your wife. Two, model the behavior, like Brandon talked about earlier. So, like, are you getting in your Bible?
Yeah.
If you're not, let's start there. Then pray together with your wife. I would say,
I would even. What do you think? Which should come first? And it may not matter, but I almost feel like the modeling is more important,
for sure.
because if you're praying and then you're going and doing something completely different, like it doesn't.
Absolutely.
I don't feel like it has.
There's
the
almost
same-
like a step before that, which is you need to get your relationship right with like, are you spending time with him? Are you praying? Are you
Yeah.
reading your Bible? Two basic ones.
Which don't take that too far
No.
to think that you need to be perfect to take that next step and pray.
No.
But you want to be like making an effort. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as like the next one,
I like what you said earlier, Billy, just asking broad, open questions to just start conversations.
All right. That's intermediate.
Yeah.
Okay. What's expert?
family
We already
rhythm,
told you.
a family rhythm of life.
Serve together.
Yeah. All right. I like it. Got some work to do.
We all do.
We all do.
We sit here and talk about it like
Yeah.
we got it all figured out, but it's a lot harder to walk out than
It's not, but it's also, I would say, as you, air quotes, progress through that, it's going to create conversations that may or may not be difficult.
Yeah.
For instance, like we've gotten to the point where we I don't know. We've specifically spelled out like what our family rule of life is, or rhythm of life, depending on what word you want to use. Some people don't like the word rule, but like when we started practicing Sabbath,
Yeah.
that was a conversation that had to happen of like what that looks like. What are we going to tell people? Like, this is something we're both going to do together. Do you want to do this? What is that like? Because it can't just be like, we're doing this whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what a spiritual leader looks like. It's an open dialogue of, hey, how do we approach this? I would like to see our family do this. What does this look like from your point of view? How do we start to do those types of things? Whether it's serving, whether it's a Sabbath, whether it's even going around town giving out gift cards to homeless people. I don't know, whatever that looks like. It could be a lot of different things, but it is going to open up a dialogue. It can't just be you rolling through and be like, get on board or take a hike.
Yeah. It's good perspective. So we've got emotional, we've got the spiritual, and those two I think are probably the most foundational in a lot of marriages before the door to physical intimacy can even be opened up in a way that some men may want it to be. And I just think this is an area, it's the most common one that we see people think of when you hear the word intimacy. They jump straight into the physical. And there is a lot of stuff out there, especially in Christian circles, that I would consider myths. So I'm curious, what are some of those things that you all have heard that could be construed as myths about physical intimacy that have been attributed to the Bible?
That it looks like porn. We'll just call it what it is.
Yeah.
Most guys go into the relationship with their wife expecting what they've watched in porn.
That now that I'm married, I get to do all these things.
You have free access to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has given you a perspective that is false.
Yeah. An unrealistic expectation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's made it about you and not her.
Right. That's a heavy hitter for sure. What else?
One of the things me and Brandon had lunch with a guy last week as we were talking about this. And he talks about how we as men are created. I think he used the word crave. I think he did. Crave beauty.
Yeah.
But a lot of times the myth is bury that down and try to subdue it. But when in reality, like you really, like you're a man and you're meant to do that. Mm-hmm. But like, what are the boundaries that you can put in place? Because that can also that desire that you have can get us into trouble very easily. And so, I think a lot of the times we don't know what to do with said desire or craving, and so we start to go on a bunch of different paths. And I don't know that we've found a really good way to deal with that within Christian circles.
This energy, there's an energy there that's kind
That
of
that God gave you.
Yeah.
It was given by God for you to crave the beauty of a woman. Like you were made for her.
Yeah.
Y'all were made to be together, to leave your wife or for her to leave her family and you guys to be one. Like that's what you were made to do.
In marriage, I've come to understand that it takes patience. Mm-hmm. It's like the main thing.
Yeah.
That's been the main way that I've overcome that.
Really?
Yeah. Should wait. You want something now? Just wait.
yeah.
Wait for what the best.
Yeah.
Wait for what
Instead
the
of
best is.
seeking it out and the way to like satisfy that craving. Yeah.
Yep.
There's this, I think the other one that I often hear is like the misquote of like, wives be subservient to your husbands, and husbands be like, well, this means, when I want it,
submission.
I get it. Yeah. Like the sense of entitlement, which is just crazy. So, I go back, there's some verses in 1 Corinthians 7, and it's verses 3-5. And it says, the husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs, and the wife should fulfill her husband's needs. The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband gives authority over his body to his wife. When you guys hear that, just curious, what are the things that you see or hear behind those verses?
Put the other first.
Yeah.
There's a mutuality to it.
Yes,
Mutual.
Exactly. Like that's the first thing I put out. It's, it's that the husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs, not the husband should ask his wife to fulfill his sexual needs or expect, But I think sometimes that's where it's almost like this keeping score of, well, I did all of this, I did all those chores, so aren't I entitled to, something? Or you said we could after we got back from the date night,
Or it's been 3 weeks, or
But there is this sense of it's a mutual, humble mindset around physical intimacy. That's when I was reading through that, I was like, man, that's an interesting. And the other thing that jumps out to me is just this phrase, give authority. So I'm curious about, how do you understand what is meant by the wife gives authority over her body and the husband gives authority over his body?
I think you're giving license to the other person, trusting that they are going to do what's best for you.
I like that.
But I don't know that most of us are there.
Yeah, it's interesting because I almost viewed it as a sense of loyalty, and I'm sure I didn't get the chance to go and look at like the biblical, like the original.
There's some background on this. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head with the cultural stuff going on at the time, but
Yeah,
but in a modern day context, I think, it still goes back to the like selflessness, mutuality, not having sex be something that's to serve your own needs.
yeah. When I read that I jumped in. I don't know why, like loyalty was something there, and like so around the connection to fidelity is like, my body is yours, your body is mine, kind of thing, and only yours, and that kind of thing. Yeah. There was another really heavy hitting quote that I found as I was just kind of reading through this stuff that I think is often one of the most underestimated things. And this comes from Mike Mason in his book, The Mystery of Marriage. And it says, sex is not an isolated event. It's integrated with how you treat your spouse every day. And I think, knowing you guys, you probably all know that to be true. I'm just preaching to the choir, but it makes me think of, everybody, there's all those quizzes, but one of the ones that's out there that I think is just really interesting is just this idea of, we all have a love language. They're the 5 love languages. Yeah. Do you all know your wives?
Just found out today.
Yeah. What is it?
And it makes sense. Time spent with or something like
Quality
that.
time. Yeah.
Acts of service and words of affirmation. I had to confirm those before, just to make sure I didn't get them wrong.
Acts of service and quality time are Katie's. Like her primary is acts of service.
That's why we walk around Hobby Lobby.
There's worse places to walk around. I like Hobby Lobby.
I know.
Sometimes.
Yoshimi's are acts of service and quality time.
Intriguing. Look
Or
at that.
was it physical touch? It's one of those.
No,
like
in
that.
contrast, what are yours?
Words of affirmation.
Yeah.
Words of affirmation, physical touch.
Same. Twins. Words of affirmation, physical touch. You can affirm me by touching me.
That works
Knock
too.
them both out. Yep.
That
We're
works
easy.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, mine are words of affirmation was number 1, and physical touch and quality time were tied.
Yeah, I love it. But I think that, it's really important. And so, how we've touched a little bit about this, but I love this question of how do you use knowledge of that love language to make your wife feel cherished? And that's a question, but also, a piece of advice for anybody listening. If you don't know, that's probably maybe an easy place to go start. If there's an issue with physical intimacy, it starts with the little acts every day, and then it builds up into something more that may more align with your expectations. And so that's, for me, it starts with the coffee every day. Is the act of service. I'm going to put out your coffee. I'm going to put your lunch in the lunch bag. That you packed your lunch, I'll throw it in the lunch bag, so you just have to grab and go. Or we keep our cars in the garage and it's really tight, and if my car's in there, she can't get to her door to put her stuff in, so I'll just wake up and pull my car out. It's this little, it's like in total 2.5 minutes worth of effort that yields pretty big returns. And that's some things that I just try and show, like, cherish you, you're really important to me, beyond the words of affirmation, which don't ring as, they don't carry as much weight for her. So what do you guys, what are some other things you all do to make your wives feel cherished? What did they tell you?
Ooh, this is where Brandon gets to share now.
Is it?
Is
Did I
it?
say I was going to share something?
Yeah, remember there's a suspenseful thing at the earlier?
Yeah.
I don't know if I remember it.
Crap.
For my wife, so her main one is acts of service, but the funny thing is, it's not anything like I've heard the two of you describe. hers isn't that there's certain things that she wants me to anticipate and do ahead of time, like a coffee or anything like that. Her acts of service is when something comes up and she wants me to do it, and she asks me like, oh, hey, can you go do this really quick? She feels loved if I drop what I'm doing and do it in the moment.
Yeah, like that is the number one priority for you.
Yeah, so not.
How do you balance that?
I mean, she's not unreasonable with it, where it's like she's constantly
Yeah.
doing like every time I walk through the room, it's like, oh hey, it's not like that.
I'm
at
just
all.
picturing it like walking through the house.
I'm picturing a
just,
bell.
Just he immediately is like, boom. What do you want me to do?
Oh, and I'm not that great at it. I've learned, I've gotten better, but no. So yeah, so if I try to, for example, if I'm cooking breakfast in the morning and I like on the weekend, and I'm like, I'm gonna cook breakfast for her when she gets up, it's ready and she can just eat. Doesn't do it for her. Like I have to wait for her to get up and her to tell me like, oh hey, it would be really nice for you to make breakfast for me. That's meaningful to her.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Intriguing.
Yeah.
How did you come to learn that?
A lot of little arguments over me not doing that.
It just feels very nuanced. I'm like, how the heck did you figure that out?
A lot of years of making mistakes.
Yeah, I did a quick.
And our physical touch is very different too.
Well, so I'm going to call that out. Hey guys, just for anybody listening, physical touch is not one of the top ones for women. Just going to call that out.
No.
It is for my wife though, but
However, a non-sexual physical touch with no pressure
Yeah.
to go anywhere else is very much fulfills the time
Yeah.
The
spent
amount of time
well
I've been
together.
asked. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I get asked for a back tickle all the time. And it is understood now that there are zero expectations that I should carry when I am asked to give a back tickle.
That's right.
And I respect that because that is the final act of service before I fall asleep. Typically, I'll fall asleep while I'm tickling a back. Just-
What do you think the number one is for women?
oh, like in general,
Yeah.
acts of service.
acts of service,
Time spent.
Quality
gifts,
time. Quality time.
Quality time.
Gifts. Gifts. He
No,
said.
it's actually gifts ranks down more with the physical touch ones. The number one, the most frequently preferred love language among women is quality time.
This right here is worth the price of admission on this episode. If you made
Yeah.
it to minute 45, congratulations, listener.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so just go through the list real quick.
So they just gave me the top three. Quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation are top three. And then it says physical touch and receiving gifts are also meaningful, but they tend to be ranked lower compared to the other ones.
All right, fair enough.
But it can also depend on personality, culture, and relationship dynamics.
Yeah.
So
They can feel your authenticity with the back tickle.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
yeah, are you putting your all into that?
Yeah, I feel like you really want to be doing this. Yeah. So is there a situation where you feel like husbands should be allowed so I feel like sometimes we're kind of saying like you should never feel entitled to physical intimacy. Is there an element or ever a moment, and this is a genuine question, it's not a trap question, where husbands should feel or be allowed to feel this sense of entitlement towards like wanting that physical intimacy?
I believe it is necessary in a marriage.
Yeah.
So
To a
yes.
certain degree. Right.
Yes. I think you have to, again, so back to what I talked about earlier. All of these things are going to require a conversation.
Yeah.
This one is probably not going to be fun.
Yeah.
Like, let's just put that out there.
Yeah.
We've had many conversations, quite honestly, of like how many times a week, like what does that look like? It's differed over time, but we're on agreement of what that actually looks like.
Yeah.
And so you have to come to a mutual agreement on this. Now, there's also a level, because what you don't want to also do is make it very rigid. I think there's an element of spontaneity too, like that you don't ever want to lose. But I think there is absolutely like the physical nature of your marriage is absolutely necessary as a part of it.
Yeah. It's a great perspective.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like Billy said, not easy conversations, but the communication.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's one of those things like if you feel like you've really put in the effort around the idea of like trying to build that emotional connection and trying to be, but you're just not getting some sort of reciprocation there. I agree. It's got to be there in all senses of healthy marriage. I remember when we were going through our premarital counseling with our pastors, like, you got to be having it. It's got to be there. Because it's just, that's what makes the marriage unique and beautiful, is that act. So.
What's Mike's quote that he told us?
If the wife's not,
if mama's not cooking, I'm eating out.
Yeah, gosh.
Which, not condoning that at all, but it's funny. So this isn't a funny conversation, but in Japan, this is I would say a major problem. I've seen statistics that like marriages where the couple's like age 40 or above, the percentage of sexless marriages is like huge. And I bring this up because my wife's Japanese. And so I've pitched to her when she's talking to her friends, like, I've been around Japanese guys. I lived over there and I talked to them, and it doesn't change across culture in my experience for guys. So when women treat the marriage like that, I'm like, where do you think your husbands are going? To Mike's quote. and
they'll look at Yoshimi like, you're married to that American man.
No, that's pretty much probably what they got told. But no, a sobering kind of fact. So I used to travel a lot for work when I was living in Japan, and I don't know how many, overseas trips around Asia that I did. And I had to navigate through being taken to these brothels, essentially.
Jeez.
And the stuff that came after that. And I probably traveled with over 100 Japanese men. And there were 2 that said no to that.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
2. And one was because it was just me and him, and I said no, and he didn't want to go
By himself.
So there was one guy that voluntarily said no. So that doesn't justify like doing that. But I mean, to your point, Billy, like it is a necessary part, I think. And for what you said, I like that that's what makes it unique. That's
well, again, back to like we were meant for that.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason why God created those parts to connect.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so there's a desire in every single man to want to do that.
Yeah.
And so understanding how to do that in a healthy way can be quite a challenge.
Mm-hmm. So how do we land this plane?
Yeah, exactly. So I think one of the things that has really come out here, and hopefully, listener, you've heard this too, is that these are not isolated forms of intimacy. They're all interconnected. The emotional begets the spiritual, and together they can beget the physical, or vice versa. But they're all connected and they're required. But I think underneath all of it has to be this mindset of selfless love, putting the needs of the other before you, or in vulnerability and compassion and empathy. And so I just want to close with one final question for each of you guys, which is, when you look at the Bible today, next to Jesus, what is the greatest example that you can think of in the Bible of selfless love in a marriage?
Joseph.
Dang it, you stole mine. Yeah. Anybody else? Was everybody else going to say Joseph? Or were there others?
I'm trying to think, what did Joseph do?
He stayed with Mary. One.
Oh, that Joseph.
Sorry, not Old Testament Joseph.
My
New
mind went to
Testament
Old Testament Joseph.
Yeah, sorry.
I was like,
You were
what is-
coded
A lot of the same names. Got to clarify.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and for the listeners, like, what if they're like,
Yeah.
what did Joseph do?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Joseph Mary's
married
husband.
Joseph, yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. Just can't think of no better example in my mind.
Yeah, lots of the Old Testament guys were pretty awful men, as far as how they treated women. But
And even if they didn't start out that way, like they started, like even Solomon was fantastic at the beginning, but women became his destruction. So
yeah, are like, that's not my wife; it's my sister.
yeah, what did he have, like 700 concubines or something like that? Like, okay,
David, no, wait.
yeah,
Nope.
for a while.
Yeah. Were there others y'all can think of?
That were good examples. Yeah, not really. Nothing comes to mind.
Be
I'm
interesting.
sure there's some.
Feel free to leave a comment, listener, if you're listening to this, and you can leave a comment. But yeah, I always think about that. Sometimes that's my prayer. It's just like, give me the heart of Joseph, the selfless of put the needs of somebody else above above his own, stayed when it was hard, stayed when
Yeah.
it was going to damage.
By
potentially.
like culture and everything. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine like what the looks and all the
Yeah.
he was getting as they would walk through town or something like that, and
Wild.
he knew.
Yeah. Well, experts, thank you for your infinite wisdom today. Listeners, I hope you can glean just any number of nuggets from this on whether it's what's one thing you can begin doing around you're building that emotional intimacy, really stepping up that ladder of spiritual intimacy, or pouring into the day-to-day of physical intimacy that it requires. So we appreciate your time. Next episode, we'll be wrapping up this series, and we're going to talk about leading from the back and what that means. So we appreciate you guys. Have a good one. Until then, stay safe and God bless. Thank you.